China is a powerful nation both today and historically. Apart from a brief few centuries in modern history in which it was surpassed by Western powers, the Chinese have been among the world's greatest producers of new innovations and inventions. The peak of dynastic China was arguably the Song Dynasty, which lasted from 960 to 1279 and saw a sustained period of economic growth. Some people even called China during this time an, quote, early modern, end quote, economy, with a few stating that the Chinese were on the verge of achieving an industrial revolution many centuries prior to the one that took place in Britain in the 1700s. But how likely was such a revolution, and what prevented a possible industrialization from taking place? First, some background. The Song garment was one of many firsts. It was the first in history to use banknotes made of paper, and the first Chinese garment to have a permanent standing navy. The Song were using gunpowder before it was cool, and were the first to use the compass to find north. The population of China doubled during this time, fed by expanded rice cultivation and great food supplies. It was this population explosion that fueled the economic revolution that we will look at today. What brought an end to this great era of peace and prosperity? Wait for it, the Mongols. aka what every history student writes down when he draws a blank for the short answer portion of a test. The Mongols crushed the Song at the Battle of Yamen in 1278 even when outnumbered 10-1, and the ensuing Yuan dynasty in China devastated both the Chinese population and also any sense of progress that might have taken place during the Song. But the question remains, how close were the Song to industrializing at the time of the Mongol invasion? What factors would be necessary to facilitate an industrialization as we envision it today? The Song dynasty was a surprisingly modern nation for its time. Steel had already been developed before the dynasty by the state of Wu in 500 BC. Clearly, the Song could field iron smelting technology on par with late medieval European capabilities. In terms of the economy, the Song Chinese invested their funds in joint stock companies and sailing vessels, promoting both external and internal trade along waterways such as the Grand Canal and the Yangtze River. Merchant families prospered and could form guilds. The Song also used coal for blast furnaces while smelting cast iron in the 11th century and later on. Akin to Britain during its own industrialization in our timeline, the Song dynasty had a massive market due to its large population, was using coal as an energy source instead of charcoal, and had a positive and stable political climate that could promote industrialization. So why didn't the Song dynasty industrialize? First of all, having all of the necessary ingredients for a key process or event does not necessarily make such a process inevitable. An example is the invention of eyeglasses with earpieces that hook over one's ears. Even though eyeglasses that rest on one's nose was apparent by the year 1300, it took at least 400 more years to create modern glasses. This issue is known as hindsight bias. People tend to use hindsight knowledge when judging past events. However, historians have proposed key factors that may have hindered possible Song industrialization. Firstly, the societies of the Song dynasty in Europe, which industrialized later in our timeline, are vastly different. The Song placed a larger emphasis on the family unit, not on the individual, and also was a regional hegemonic power with no direct external threat. On the other hand, Europeans promoted the value of individuals and struggled with one another for dominance. This interstate struggle likely promoted technological progress unseen in the Song dynasty. The Song also believed in the status quo, and a revolutionary new ideas that may have arisen were likely suppressed. Other historians call members of the, quote, English school, end quote, believe that China fell into a high-level equilibrium trap. This means that non-industrial methods were efficient enough to prevent use of industrial methods with high initial capital. In short, the extremely large labor pool of the Song dynasty and also lower labor costs may have hindered the development of machines. The centrality of the Song garment, different societal beliefs, and a lack of necessity for industrialization could explain why it was Europe and not the Song dynasty that industrialized first. However, given enough time, the Song clearly had the capability to industrialize. During the time of the Song dynasty, it existed in competition with the contemporaneous Liao, Western Xia, and Jin dynasties to its north, and it is possible that it could industrialize to obtain an advantage over its enemies. Any possibility of an early industrial revolution was obliterated with the Mongol invasion of the Song. During the 44 years the Song resisted the Mongols, entire cities were sacked and the Mongols attacked like a force of nature. Up to half of the Song Empire's population may have perished in the invasion, although pre-modern population counts are suspect. During the 89-year-long reign of the Mongol-governed Yuan dynasty in China, famines were rampant, Chinese culture was discouraged, and a racial caste system was instituted with the native Chinese at the bottom. After the Mongols were thrown off and the Ming dynasty was established, China turned inward and isolationist, stagnating while Europeans industrialized. So the Mongols would have to be repelled in order for any industrialization to be remotely possible. That's all for the background for this alternate history. Head over to fellow alternate historian Planet Althistory's channel to check out part 2 of this video, What If the Song Dynasty Industrialized? Link down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more great content. This is ScholaroftheWorld signing out.